As many of you know, this is my passion right over here. At least one of my passions, creating content and, but even more so, problem solving around my tech. So this morning, I was trying to figure out how come my iPad wouldn't turn on. I did some rearranging of equipment in here, and I realized that one of my hubs, which is down here, rather than plugging it into my actual Mac Mini, I had to plug it back into itself. So I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting any power, which I need to power my iPad, which is my primary display for my notes. So today, in this episode of the Sneaker Principal podcast, I will be presenting my notes not right in front of me, but off to the side. So I'm gonna look all kinds of crazy looking away from the camera, but you know, that's what makes this fun. So let's talk about the power of creativity as an outlet for school leaders. Let's go ahead and start this episode.
When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody's going to clean it up.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is sometime around 5:30, 5 something. I actually intended to start this podcast episode much earlier. However, I just couldn't figure out how to turn on my iPad. So, excuse me. Those who are listening, the intro this is a video podcast, so you're hearing me speaking as though I'm speaking to an audience on video, but I just couldn't get my iPad to work, and now it's finally working. It's charging. It's like completely dead, so I won't be able to utilize it until it's fully charged up again. But this episode, I want to talk to you on this fine morning about creative outlets and how it's so necessary for school leaders and just leaders in general. If you're an A-type personality like me, you can become super obsessed with the work that you do. I've been doing this now for, I've been a school leader for 19 years. I came into public education as the dean my first day, and people might say, "Well, the dean is not quite school leader," but you are, because you're handling all the cultural aspects of the school, discipline, and depending where you are, you might be it. You might be the be all, say all, be all about what happens within the school culture. Of course, with the authorization of your principal, which I always had. But I went from being a dean, and within 4 years, I was in a leadership program, and by my 5th year, I was an assistant principal. And fast forward, here I am, principal, 3rd school, and I must tell you, I love every moment of what I do. Like, I love every moment of it. Even the days that I'm just like, why am I doing this? Even the fact that I left twice, but I still came back to what I love. And this is supporting school communities, engaging with kids, their families, making an impact in their lives. But the problem, and there is a problem with what we do, and any school leaders listen to this, I know you understand. Most often you get super absorbed and obsessed with what you're doing. And what I mean by absorbed and obsessed, because you are dealing with, I'm sorry, I have to take a quick pause. I'm over here licking my lips, and I have some bliss stickers over here. I don't know, it's very unprofessional. Because you're dealing with lives. And I'm not going to say children, I'm not going to say young people, with lives. As a leader, yes, of course, your primary responsibility of the school is the children or the students in your school. Then you have the teachers that you must support because they're the first line of defense. They're the ones who are in front of the kids every single day. Then you have the families of those students that, depending where you are, they might be just as needy as the children. So you are the resource to the community as well. So you're supporting the teachers, you're supporting children, their families, but not only that, you might be the voice of a critical voice within the community as a whole. So in all these different places, you are more than just the school leader. And if you're really about doing the work really well, you find yourself pouring so much of who you are into into what you do every day. And if you're like some of us who everyone has your phone number, guess what? It doesn't ever turn off really. A lot of times, a lot of us, we don't have the heart to put boundaries. So we're like, some people, like, I know people, I don't know how they do it. They're like, when I clock out, the world is shut, that's dead to me. But my thing is, my phone goes off, at 12 o'clock at night, and it's a student. I'm picking it up because why a student's family. I'm picking it up, but why are you calling me at 12 o'clock at night? Especially if we've made a connection, especially seeing that often that child is with you for a number of years. You get to know them very, very well, get to know their families. If a teacher calls me at midnight, I'm thinking like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, it's all these things, whether it's a call or a text message, you're constantly on. But then not only that, just the operations of the school. I'm not talking about, lights on, lights off. I'm talking about test scores and curriculum and what are we doing and outcomes and graduation. And my kids going to be ready for the next level, whether it's going from elementary school to middle school to high school, the college to jobs, careers. I mean, I've been doing this so long that I have former students of mine who are colleagues now, who are working in education. And I'm looking at them like, wow, this, so you can't help but to easily be completely consumed by what we do. But the dangerous part of this is you become so one-sided and you give up on the things that made you who you are. If that makes any sense. Because often I come across, I know, because these are my colleagues, school leaders who are so locked in to what we do that nothing else matters. And that does concern me because it leads to burnout where all of a sudden your brain is like, can't see anything else but what you do, and I've been there to the point where it took over my health, or not even took over my health. It became the downfall of my health because my eating schedule, my sleep schedule was all locked into work. So I would not eat throughout the whole entire day and only eat, and literally eat in the car going home. I would leave work, McDonald's, and I would literally be in the car eating 2-3 cheeseburgers. I was so starved of nutrition, and I'm eating McDonald's or whatever I can get my hands on. Crumbs all over my shirt, on my belly. Because at one point in time, like you guys know, I was like 350 pounds, and I was just so ravenous because I was so hungry. But throughout the day, my brain didn't see anything else other than the work. There were days where I'd be like, man, I didn't go to the bathroom today, and holding it all day, and not even to the point where your brain just automatically knows that I don't go to the bathroom. That's common human things that we're supposed to be doing, we don't do. And then we think, and we don't realize how unhealthy that is. So there are all these things I was doing, or thank God I stopped early on. I became a chain smoker because of stress levels. So I would take my breaks rather than getting something to eat or even getting fluids in my body. I would step outside the building to go have a cigarette, and to the point I realized that I was getting through a pack of cigarettes in a day, which was funny because I was like, I would go out there for like that 5-10 minutes, and it'll be like 2 cigarettes real quick. Or in the morning, I'll wake up, anything to just get to, to, I don't know, to level me off, or whatever the case was. And I was extreme. And I know there's people out there who have their several vices that they latch onto to be able to get through the work. And that's a problem. And we know this is a problem, but what do you do to it? What do you do about it? What is the alternative? And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't until like my second year, I noticed something. And every couple of years I noticed something. My second year, my principal I was like, listen, we need another elective, arts elective for our kids. And because of my background in film and media studies, he asked me if I would teach a film class. I was like, heck yeah. So I taught, actually it was a digital media class. I taught broadcasting and basic videography. And in that space, Dean Lawrence, because I was the dean at the time, and I went by Lawrence, my middle name. And I was like, I was in heaven. I was like, whoa, I love this, because I was in a space that I didn't have to think. It was so easy and so free flowing for me. And then I believe that same year, that spring, I started coaching track and field. And again, something, I love sports and coaching. Again, it was something else that I got into that it gave me an alternative. And all of a sudden, I'm teaching film. So my brain had created like in a hard drive, a partition where I got to spend time with my students talking about and engaging what I loved. And I loved seeing their eyes and they're connecting to a subject that I love. Then track and field, here I was talking to, and again, I was already like pushing 300 pounds at this time. And here I am coaching track. And all of a sudden, I couldn't be unhealthy and engage my students about something that required you to be healthy. But I didn't make the connection. So year after year, I would be doing something that would, put me in that space where I would all of a sudden realize what I was passionate about. A couple of years later, I taught another, I think I did photography. So I was realizing these things, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't until the pandemic that I realized whenever I was doing this, digital media, video creation, content creation, photography, I wasn't principal in Joku. I wasn't Dean Lawrence. I wasn't principal in Joku. I wasn't assistant principal in Joku. I was Uche, who loves tech, who loves video, who loves creating, who would sit in college for hours watching films and writing papers and loving every moment of it. And I was like, why does those two things have to be separate from each other? Why can't my creative passions be infused into my leadership? And that's the thing that we often miss. We all have those things we're passionate about. It doesn't even have to be in the creative spaces, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever it is that you're just like, I don't know, maybe you collect coins and, bottle caps. But there was something about it that brought calm to your brain that is needed in leadership. Because often when you're a school leader, you're juggling so many things. You're engaging in come on now. If you're listening to me right now and you're a principal, assistant principal, a dean, a high-performing teacher leader, and you are engaged with families and kids, you've been cursed out by kids, or you've been maligned by parents, or whatever the case may be, or maybe even your superiors have come down on you, and your blood pressure goes up, everything's happening, your emotions and everything else. What is the calm for you? How do you escape from those spaces? And for me, it's been this. But then you might ask yourself, like, how do I bring that creative space into work? And that's a hard part. But I can tell you, for me, it's funny because my podcast is primarily I talk about what I do. Because listen, I want to be a hypocrite. I do spend a lot of time, probably most of my time, thinking about work. But it's not work, it's my job. This is who I am. But however, by doing the podcast, by creating videos, by teaching, like I'm about to go on a mission to build a fully functioning photojournalism club at my school. It's going to be photojournalism. And I'm going to put cameras in the hands of my students, and they're going to document what's happening in the school. The events, the day-to-days, interviewing students, and just compiling as much content as possible so we can document our journey, as a turnaround school. And again, most students see me most of the time walk around school with a camera in my hand. I go to the classroom to do observations. I'm taking pictures of what's happening in the classrooms, the work the kids are doing, life in the day of the school. And so for me, this is important data, important content, because one of the things we don't do as school leaders, we don't document the work that we're doing. We don't document the journey. We have, photo ops here and there, but we don't really document so we can look back and say, wow, this is what happened. So I'm doing that, both for the benefit of my school, but I'm also doing it from also my creative outlet. And not only that, now I'm also benefiting my students, those students who are going to be part of the photojournalism class, who are going to be documenting as an extension of this mission to make sure that we record our history. But the great thing about this is there are problems to be solved in doing this for me, which allows me to continue to exercise my problem solving skills. Like this morning, I couldn't figure out how to get this sucker to work, and so right now it's charging, But I sat here for about half an hour trying to figure out why is this not working. But again, it wasn't a nuisance. It was like, slow down, look at how everything's connected. What's missing here? And often, as school leaders in our school spaces, we're presented with problems, and what we do is we run straight to the answer. We run right into the fire. And doing this, allowing myself to be creative as well as a school leader, has allowed me to infuse what I do in my creative space into what I do as a leader. I slow down and I ask myself, what am I not seeing here? What is it that I need to do to ensure I find the optimal solution to the problem? I check the wires. I check on my staff. I unplug and reconnect. I meet with them and talk with them, provide feedback, receive feedback. And I come up with a plan, and I push play and say, hey, did this work? Give it some time. And I do the same thing with at school. I have a parent who's upset with me or who's irate. Rather than running there and saying, hey, let's engage right now. I say, listen, can we set up a time where we can both sit down and talk about this? So I want to make sure you have my full attention. And rarely do I get parents who say, no. They're like, okay, I have to go to work, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I meet them where they are at. Problem solving in creative ways. These are things that comes from being creative. Often complex problems require creative solutions, not complex solutions. And so whatever it is that you're passionate about, find a way to make that thing a part of who you are, what you do, because it would only benefit you. And if you don't know what your creative outlet is, pick one. I have a friend of mine who picked up the camera recently, and has gone on a deep dive to understand photography. And I know that it's impacting the way they see the world. Just putting that viewfinder to your eye and looking through that lens and what you see is very powerful. Because after a while, you're not just taking pictures of spaces, you're taking pictures of subjects. And then you're translating what you see into a language that the world hopefully would understand what you're trying to convey. Leadership, right? All right, folks. So find that thing, if you don't already have one, that you can be compassionate about, that allows you to be creative. And if you're like, I'm not a creative person, learn to draw, learn to play an instrument, pick up a camera, collect, bottle caps, coins. But after a while, you start to see that it's not just about picking those things up. It's about understanding, why is this important? What is it about this thing that makes it so unique? And after a while, your brain starts to move like that, and your leadership becomes so much more outstanding. All right, folks. It's Uche and Joku. Hopefully this, got you thinking, and hopefully this will also push you towards improving who you are day to day, but also improving your leadership as well. Have an amazing day.